So, there's this viral horror story that's been blowing up online. A really chilling tale adapted from an original in Hindi about a toy that is, well, definitely not for kids. Today, we're going to break down the story of the cursed Labubu doll.
So let's just dive right in with a super unsettling question. Can a toy actually take your life? I know, it sounds kind of crazy, right? But in the story we're about to get into, the answer might just be a little too real.
All right, so our story begins like a lot of spooky stories do, with what seems like a totally innocent purchase, an encounter with a very unique and very cute little doll.
So, let me introduce you to Maylin. She lives in Shanghai, works in a toy shop, which, is the perfect job for someone who loves collecting unique dolls. The story describes her as this really sweet person, basically a regular girl, who's about to get caught up in something that is anything but ordinary.
One day, a new limited edition collection of Labubu dolls arrives at her shop, and they sell out almost instantly. But Maylin, she manages to snag one for herself. And this one, it's different. It's this unique golden color, which makes it totally stand out from all the others.
The original story actually says Maylin had never before seen a smile as cute as that Labubu's. I mean, look at it, with its big blue eyes, soft golden fur, and these long floppy ears. At first glance, the doll was just completely irresistible.
But that charm, it doesn't last long. Let's get to the first signs that something is seriously wrong, what the story calls the first alarm bells.
Okay, so the very first red flag comes from her dog, Bao. Now, usually he loves her dolls, he's playful, wags his tail, but with this new Labubu doll, his whole demeanor changes. He starts barking aggressively, growling at it. You know how they say an animal's instinct is always right? Well, Bao's reaction here is a huge, huge warning.
And once that doll is in her house, things just start to go downhill, fast. Maylin, who's usually so calm and sweet, has this completely out-of-character burst of rage at a customer and gets fired, on the spot. Then, that night, she starts hearing this weird laughter in her apartment, and when she goes to check, the doll is on the floor, not on the shelf where she'd put it. Her whole life is starting to come apart at the seams.
And that's when the psychological horror really kicks into high gear. That same night, she has this incredibly vivid, terrifying nightmare about this grotesque creature. It's red, its body looks like it's decaying, and it has these long, sharp claws. In the dream, this thing tries to strangle her while letting out this horrible, horrible laugh.
So she bolts awake, screaming, only to find something even more terrifying than the nightmare. The Labu doll, the one she put back on the shelf, is now sitting right there on her chest. And there's just no way, no logical way it could have gotten there.
Okay, so at this point, we've gone way past simple fear. This is pure horror, and we're about to see the true face of this evil in the most brutal way you can imagine.
Her screaming wakes up Bao, her loyal dog, and he just rushes in. He sees the doll on her chest and just goes into a frenzy, attacking it, tearing it to absolute shreds. And for a split second, there's this sense of relief. It looks like the source of all this terror has been destroyed. Maylin, totally exhausted and horrified, just sweeps the pieces into the trash and tries to go back to sleep.
But the next morning is like a timeline of absolute dread. At 8 a.m., she wakes up and her head is just pounding, and she's covered in these weird red spots, almost like bites. 5 minutes later, she realizes Ba is nowhere to be found. And then, at 8:10, she makes the impossible discovery. There, in her bathroom, sitting on a shelf, is the Labu doll. Perfectly whole.
And get this, the doll isn't just back, it's different. What was once described as that cute little smile is now twisted into this terrifying, mocking grin. The doll's innocent look is just completely gone. Totally panicked, Maylin is tearing the apartment apart looking for Bao, but he's just gone. When she comes back around, the doll has moved again. Now it's in the kitchen, right by the sink. And its hands, and its big smiling teeth, are stained with something fresh and red.
She knows this is bad. Dreading what she's about to find, she looks under the sink. And that's when the story delivers its most gut-wrenching moment. Bao's body lay beneath the sink. He had been viciously killed.
So yeah, this is obviously not just some haunted doll. This is something active, something truly evil. But was Maylin the only one? Well, the story expands from here and raises the terrifying question of an endless curse. In total desperation, Maylin does what any of us would do. She gets online, and what she finds is just chilling. Her story isn't a one-off. There are reports from all over the world about haunted Labubu dolls, people claiming the dolls bite them, stories linking them to sudden job losses, mysterious sicknesses, and even the deaths of their loved ones. This isn't just one doll, it's a pattern.
Okay, so now she knows what she's dealing with, and she decides, that's it. I have to end this. She takes the doll outside and burns it until there's nothing left but ash. Then she seals those ashes in a glass jar, and for good measure, she throws that jar into a river. I mean, that sounds pretty final, right? And for a little while, it actually feels like it worked. She feels safe for the first time in what feels like forever. She even calls her sister and tells her the entire insane story, truly believing that the nightmare is finally over.
But that feeling of relief, it was only going to last for one single day.
Because the next morning, Malin was found dead in her home, and lying right there beside her, looking perfectly clean and new, was the golden Labubu doll. The curse, it was never broken.
So you have to ask, where does an evil like this even come from? The story actually points to a theory that's been making the rounds online, one that connects all of this to something much, much older. Some people speculate that the doll is actually a modern-day vessel for Pazuzu, an ancient and seriously powerful demon from Mesopotamian mythology.
And that really brings us all the way back to the ultimate question. Is the Labubu doll truly cursed? Is it a vessel for some ancient evil? Or is it just a terrifying urban legend that's spun out of control? The story, well, it doesn't give you an answer. It leaves that for you to decide.